You don't understand what I've been through. I've been to prison in 3 different countries. I once had to chew my way out of the trunk of a car. You think you've got problems? I've got a mullet, Stanford!
Wow, talk about retro. Or would it be vintage in this case? I don't know. Hi, I'm Kitty Monk, and I'm here to talk to you about Star versus the Forces of Evil. Or more specifically, the episode Cleaved, and the fallout of it. Why am I doing it now? Well, it's a combo of the fact that the algorithm has been supporting my Star versus videos a lot as of lately. Like, the views are really going up, like, more than my Family Guy and American Dad videos. And it's also January, so I have to spam videos if I actually want to be able to, you know, go to college and eat and afford to live. So before I covered adult animation, I covered Disney cartoons, among them Star Versus, where my main theme was how the show had strong promise, and then became a shipping drama with racial tensions thrown in for good measure. Think of it like Hell of a Boss, but without all of the swearing or charm that makes you like it in spite of the flaws. However, why did I stop? Well, I felt like I went as far as I could with reviewing Star Versus. My South Park videos were beginning to gain way more traction, and the views with my Star Versus videos were declining. It was hurting my channel if I were to continue reviewing the show, so I stopped. And I guess it's kind of like karmatic justice that my South Park videos have declined a lot as of lately, so yeah. However, there is one topic I never got to that I wish that I did. I mean, I promised that I did, although honestly, as a YouTuber, when you make promises, usually it's more like I really want to do it and I want to see how you guys are going to react if I do it, so yeah. But that promise was the idea about whether or not Star should have destroyed magic, because after all, this really rocked the fan base, and it led to many people hating the show and discounting it to this day. So let's discuss. But first, some background. Throughout the show, a big theme is Star learning that her family aren't the saints she made them out to be. All the way back in Independence Day, she learned that they stole their land from the monsters already living there, because it was basically their Thanksgiving special.
Oh, okay. Wow.
And Season 2 showed Star the downsides of being a queen. Like, even if she wanted to do things her way, not the way Moon wanted her to, she was still expected to uphold a role that existed for centuries, if not millennia. And when she tried to be different from her mother and be honest with her subjects, they were merely angry they were lied to.
I didn't realize this would happen. I thought they wanted to know the real Star Butterfly.
They don't, Star. They just want to believe that you're a perfect little princess.
Meanwhile, Season 3 showed Star just how far her family and their advisors were willing to go to keep the monsters in their places. And heck, while Star is royal considering her father, Star technically isn't even a butterfly by blood. The Magic High Commission swapped out the true heir for a peasant, just because they did not want a mixed-race monster Mumin on the throne, and they lied for centuries.
You aren't actually my great something grandma.
No, sweetie, I'm not.
Throughout all of this, Star did try to make up for her failings, and the failings of her ancestors. She made peace with Buttfrog and the monsters, she got the heirs of the neighboring kingdoms to sign a peace treaty to establish monster-human peace terms, and then for a party to celebrate, which Mina Loveberry and Miss Heinous crashed, and most notably, she gave the royal magic wand to Eclipsa, and the title of queen back to her and Meteora.
It belongs to you. Things haven't been right since my family took the kingdom. The best thing I can do as queen is return what my family stole from you.
And she acted as an advisor to Eclipsa and the new dynasty, etc. However, then came Mina Loveberry, a joke character they tried to treat like Ozai.
You mooks are also under arrest. Why? For obstructing Mama's business.
Because the writers decided to assassinate everybody but Eclipsa, they had Moon suddenly hate her for her own actions, as in Moon's own actions.
You're the reason I was lost in the magic dimension. You're the reason I was separated from my family. From my daughter!
That was an accident, Moon. You know that.
No, Moon, that's not what happened. She was calming down Meteora, there was a lull, it was very possible she could have done either or, but at the moment she wasn't doing anything, and you took the opportunity to kill Meteora.
I love you! Please, Meteora, come back to me.
Eclipsa did not mean to dip down, she was just trying to, like, stop you from killing her daughter. If the shoe was on the other foot and Star was in danger, you would be doing that. So yes, it's mostly your fault this happened. Therefore, Moon got Romulus to release Glopgore, and then turned her villagers into Solarian soldiers, because you can totally trust me to love Barry, aka the woman who attacked your daughter and her friends and your nephew, and said she was going to keep attacking Eclipsa while your daughter is under Eclipsa's roof.
Whoa, Mina, wait just 1 second.
Doctor's orders! Oh, you let them go, you traitor!
And this led to Mina basically being an overpowered threat that honestly could have been dealt with in any other way, but was given massive plot armor. Which leads to the episode Cleaved, the dreaded series finale.
Cleaved? Now that's a funny word. You can cleave something apart, or you can cleave something together.
In the tavern at the end of the multiverse, the penultimate episode, Star finally decides that she hates magic, and after a talk with Glossaric, she decides that magic has been the main problem with this whole series. It was magic all along, and she wants to get rid of magic entirely.
I hate magic!
This universe will be better without it.
That's right! Magic's the worst, and the people that use it are idiots!
Yeah!
No it's not, but we'll get there. Star's talk with Glossaric further reinforces her viewpoint that magic is awful, since he does nothing to tell her otherwise.
I'm gonna destroy it.
And how are you going to do that?
I could say the whispering spell. Inside the realm of magic.
But she does make the point it's just a temper tantrum, and honestly, I think if she just got 5 minutes to cool off by herself, she probably would have changed her mind and realized she was going crazy. However, she keeps getting confirmation bias, the final being the form of her tapestry, showing that she did destroy magic and all will be better off for it.
Oh my. I actually destroyed the magic? So my temper tantrum was right all along!
But at the cost of no Glossaric and no Marco.
No magic means no Marco?
Marco will be fine. The magic will put him back where he belongs.
This leads to Star destroying magic, yada yada yada, and Starversus sinking into the pits of wasted potential shows. Now, to me, should Star have destroyed magic? Well, let's look at it from both sides, since I like to humor both sides. They both have their strengths and weaknesses. However, I'll be perfectly honest, I think no. Just in terms of how the show presents it. In terms of presentation, Star should not have destroyed magic. To me, magic isn't the problem. The problem is the people who take advantage of it. Magic is a tool, and tools are only as good or as bad as the people using them. Star says that magic ruins lives, but like Marco points out, it also does a lot of good.
But magic's what brought us together.
Plus, as shown in the Book of Spells that was released during the interim between seasons 3 and 4, and which I will be referencing a lot because it's what should have been season 4, while many of the butterfly queens used magic for bad purposes, such as Solaria using it to exterminate monsters, while many butterflies also used it for good. And while with Skywin, who did use it for good, but hey, the road to hell is paved with good intentions, while other butterflies did use it for good, but the people around them kept the status quo in effect. I mean, Star's great-grandmother was popular just because she did nothing but use the wand to draw, for instance. Or how Festivia, aka the first butterfly peasant queen, did use magic to save her people, but at the same time she listened to Hekapu, who told her to keep attacking monsters. And I hate how the show, just to have Star be in the right, decides to ignore all of the good on purpose, all of the nuance, all of the subtleties. The biggest example to me is Star's grandmother and Moon's own mother, who the show keeps referencing, Comet. Comet traveled the multiverse before she became queen and tried to fight for monster-mutant equality because she was able to get a broader perspective, and she believed that monsters and humans both like to eat, and if you sat at the same table, you were all equal, which is a really cool mindset. It really reminds me of Mr. Rogers and the, kiddie pool. And she got closest to anybody in trying to establish peace, and it was only because of Toffee and the fact she underestimated him and his master that she was killed. Even if Moon becoming the queen because of her mother's death is huge to her character, because she had to grow up quickly and become a perfectionist and a monster-hating extremist, this never comes up. We never get a background in the show. We're just, one quick scene where they were gonna sign a peace treaty. We don't see how far back it went, how close, Comet's mindset. Think about it. Irony, she was the most progressive queen, and then you get her daughter.
Everybody's been looking to me to end the war and make all these big decisions, but I'm just a kid. I can't decide the fate of Muni. I can't even decide which boy I like.
Like, this would be the perfect counter-argument. Or what about Justin the Boy Queen, or the Uncalculated? He was basically like Star. He made peace wherever he went. He had a knack at making friends, and he likely treated monsters like equals. He was kinda considerate to people regardless of their economic background. He used magic for good. He tried to help his friends, one of whom was an old man. But because he was a man himself, all he could do was be a diplomat and give up his wand to Solaria. Sorry, a major pet peeve of mine I had with the spellbook is it didn't really do anything in season 4. Like, most of what comes up in season 4 with the spellbook, like, you don't need to have read it even though they make it out to be this big thing. Just, I don't know, I feel like they released it for a reason. They should have used it. It just felt like quick callback, like Glossaric Silkworms or Ronaldo the Bald Pate. But anyways, back to the video. Plus, I kinda hate what the show says about magic being bad when, honestly, that's not what we're shown. On Muni, magic isn't just used by the queens, it's another part of daily life to at least some degree for most people. The peasants in Star's Kingdom are like the only exception. But for most people, so much of their lives is fueled by magic or magical creatures. To say we need to destroy magic because it ruins lives is like saying we need to destroy water because people drown. Like, yes, it could happen, but that's not the sole cause. Not to mention that most, if not all of Star's friends who are in Marco are made of magic or are magic to some degree, or use magic themselves. Despite the showrunners saying that ponyhead flying, for instance, is just an innate ability, it's still technically magic by the rules of the show. When Glossaric tells Star the consequences of destroying magic, he does say that he would be a casualty, since he's literally a being made of pure magic. And his children, the Magic High Commission, would die as well because they're literally made of magic too. We do see this happening in Cleage, which I guess is good considering how their characters all got assassinated.
What do you think happens to those magic committee people if there's no magic?
Alright, blast slice, who wants it?
I guess we'll never know.
Even if I think Romulus teaming up with Mina would be a good idea for the finale, outside of directly including Seth, because I think he had the most reason to hate Globgor and still hate Eclipsa, and Marco also brings up the idea of death to Hekapoo.
Yeah, sure. Blow it up.
Wait, Hekapoo? You're made of magic.
Look, if I'm being honest, I always had the feeling this stuff did more harm than good.
Okay, Hekapoo, I still hate you. Considering what you did to Meteora, considering what you did to Festivia, and considering how you never did anything to help the problem, blow me. You were cool with getting rid of Eclipsa, who did not, to my knowledge, do anything wrong with Globgor around, and your only gripe with all of this wasn't that it was wrong to separate a family, or to have a coup, or that people were gonna die. It was that Mina was too crazy to do the job herself efficiently.
But she's not even following the plan!
Look, I just want that monster smoocher out of Muni. Some risks are worth taking.
But she's completely crazy!
You're just as bad as your brothers, if not more so. Well, I can get Star not really caring for the Magic High Commission anymore. Well, she never spares a thought that magic could potentially kill her own friends. Like Ponyhead, who earlier in the show was crippled because Meteora ripped off her horn. Or that Tom might never be able to go home ever again or see his family because he uses magic to travel from the underworld. And the show never addresses this either, even if that's a very valid question. Like, Star could ask this, like, what about my friends? Or what about this? Or like, they could wonder, like, is magic an innate ability or just something they naturally do? Like, what are our lives gonna be like if we don't have magic? What do Star's friends think about it? Maybe if we had a scene of them saying, like, Star, we're prepared to die for our kingdoms. We're prepared to help you. Do whatever you need to do. We'll make the sacrifice if need be. Or something like that. I'd be fine with it. Or like, don't worry about us, Star. We'll be okay. Even if it would be a little bit much, but hey, at least we would have that assurance. Instead, it's just magic is bad, sorry, chowie. They just gloss over every horrible implication or question to make Star seem like she's in the right, and this was a long time coming when it really wasn't. Even when she tells people who are in Marco, they're all like, oh, okay, yo, Eclipsa, Moon, we're destroying magic. Oh, okay, we won't just use my spell that's like right here, like, okay.
1, we stay here. 2, you give me my wand and I go back to Muni and blast those warriors with my total annihilation spell. Probably destroying most of the kingdom as well.
Hekapoo, I'm destroying magic and that means I'm gonna destroy you too. Oh, okay. I always thought magic was bad, even if I used it for my own nefarious purposes, but okay. I'm also pretty angry that we only have the Reddit AMAs to confirm the aftermath and try to lessen the damage. And honestly, most of what they said afterward kind of contradicts what happens in the show, because that way Star can't be genocidal. Like that Star's spells survived, like the laser puppies just became normal puppies, or Doop Doop became a normal broom, or I presume that Spider with a top hat just became a normal spider. Even if the laser puppies are a spell, and therefore they're made of magic too, and therefore they should be dead. Or Doop Doop was still sentient, so this would be pretty horrific, like he basically just ceased to be, not unlike Romulus or Omnitraxus. Or heck, there is this line which honestly pisses me off every single time I see it now.
So I have to destroy the magic. I guess this means Toffee was right.
Star... No. Okay, no. Toffee killed your own grandmother, he traumatized your mother, he's the reason she had to grow up too quickly, he tried to kill you and he succeeded once.
Well, it's just, you're far too young to be queen unless... Oh no. Unless your mother, is she...
And none of the monsters sided with him on this principle that magic was bad. They only sided with him because they did not like your family. And he didn't care about magic. He only cared about power. He was basically taking advantage of a cause. Yes, Ludo's monsters did side with Toffee, but only because Ludo himself was mistreating them. And Buttfrog wasn't around to tell them otherwise anymore because Toffee got rid of him. Toffee just wanted revenge because your mother disfigured him and made him a laughingstock. He did not care about this at all. Even Eclipse, who was probably the most monster-friendly queen outside of your grandmother, wanted nothing to do with him or Seth because they wanted all humans exterminated, including her. Oh, and speaking of Seth, this villain that the book, brought up and we all thought was gonna be in season 4, yeah, apparently he died off screen despite being built up in the book as this big bad antagonist who was a thorn in everybody's side for thousands of years. At least Globgor, while I do think the show kind of glosses over him being evil in the past or just plays it up as a joke, to his credit, he did massively improve as a person, and the humans did accept him for this. Even River, who spent his entire life hating monsters and probably only thinks Globgor's like one of the good ones, came to his defense.
Over my dead body! That man was willing to stay in the crystal to keep his family safe. He's a dad.
Which I 100% applaud. BTW, River never finds out that Moon did any of this. I don't know, it makes me angry. She left him out of it, oh, were you that much of a coward, Moon? However, on the flip side, I do get the appeal of Star destroying magic, especially as a series-ending event. Star's whole character is that she does what isn't expected of her, and yet still prevails. I mean, her title is Star the Underestimated. However, I think they could have had Star do what's not expected of her without destroying magic. Perhaps Star makes it so now everybody can use magic, human or monster. That way they're all equal. The monsters have a way to defend themselves, for instance, and perhaps magic isn't just limited to just women. Maybe all humans can use it, not just the royal family. Or Star cuts off everybody's access to magic by destroying the wand. That way magic can still exist in some capacity, but nobody can use it for evil anymore. Kinda what Attack on Titan did with the Titan Shifters. Or they do what the Owl House did, where a new magic sprouts forth and everybody can use it, human or monster, or it's not the same as before and hey, maybe it'll cause different problems, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Or since Eclipsa wanted to use the spell with no name, aka a spell Solaria wanted Eclipsa to finish so she could kill all monsters and which had a big chance of destroying Muni, what if as the ultimate form of karma, Star finishes the spell and makes it so it only affects Solarians? That way it won't tear Muni apart and it would be the ultimate revenge against Eclipse's genocidal mother. Or Star could use the spell with no name, and then once Mina and Co are dealt with, she has to convince the humans and the monsters to work together to rebuild Muni, or to stop the spell. And this is how they establish peace. However, what if they did destroy magic? I mean, they did, you know what I mean. Could this have worked? To be honest, part of me thinks yes. If they had more time, they could have shown why this would be a good idea. But because they didn't, it just comes off like Star is causing mass genocide for funsies. I think one of the biggest problems with season 4 was they tried to cram way too much stuff in, and then they focused on the wrong kind of stuff at the same time.
No, I'm sorry. But maybe we can be your family.
I'd like that.
To this very day, I think they should have just ended the season with Coronation. That way, outside of Mina trying to kill Eclipsa, which could have been its own episode, or it could have been like a there will still be problems or people who hate Eclipsa thing, everything would have been solved and they could have ended things on a high note. Hey, Eclipsa could have her family and her husband at long last, Star could get ready to travel the multiverse, the Magic High Commission would finally be willing to work with Eclipsa, or at least put their prejudices aside, and the humans would have accepted monsters, considering how they accepted Globgor, so Star's mission wouldn't be for nothing. However, because Season 4B was primarily a shipping drama, like Star breaking up with Tom or hanging out with Marco on Earth like they did in Season 4, or them wasting a two-parter with the Blood Moon, well, they did not have enough time to show how magic could be dangerous or that maybe Star's fears were correct. Oh wait, the Blood Moon was probably an innate ability, my bad. However, the idea that Star wants to travel the multiverse I think should have been the focus of Season 4B, over her staying on Earth with the Diazes, because then she could see firsthand that royal families using magic in corrupt circumstances, yeah, not limited to her family, unfortunately. Like the spider bites, maybe they're the exception, or they only care about Slime Monster because he helps them. Heck, she could even learn that maybe it wasn't just limited to the Festivia line onward. Maybe the Underworld, the Cloud Kingdom, whatever, they all have their own problems with monsters, since they use the mindset that if you're an ally or you're wealthy, you aren't a monster. So perhaps they're no better, or they're even worse because they're putting their own kind down in the pursuit of their own interests. Or heck, where did the idea come from? Who started it? Was it Justin the Uncalculated, the Magic High Commission, monsters themselves? Maybe it wasn't the butterflies. I know the monster plotline gets a lot of flack from people, like it overtook the narrative, but unpopular opinion here, I honestly don't mind it. It made the show interesting, it kinda got me hooked, and I liked how they deconstructed a lot of these ideas. Like, Star has good intentions, but she won't change things overnight. But whatever progress she made, yeah, that is pretty notable. However, yeah, I do have problems with this. Because of how Star is presented, it just kind of feels like this is a white savior narrative in hindsight, which I don't think was the intention, but yeah, it becomes an unfortunate implication. Since, yes, it's nice that Star wants to help her people and realize that her family wasn't the best, but yeah, by trying to destroy magic on behalf of all monsters, Star never consults any actual monsters, aka the main people she's trying to help. It's like saying, like, you need to call Spanish-speaking people Latinx. Actually, Star, I don't like the word Latinx. Oh, shut up! Oh yeah, that's another thing. To save maybe a couple hundred or maybe 1,000 monsters, Star basically ended up killing millions if not trillions of other people. Like, yeah, look, I love Buff Frog, I love his family, but technically speaking, is it really that big a deal if a couple hundred people die for this to happen? It's not like Star really needs to go that route. Mina isn't saying anything like, first we'll kill all these monsters in the most hilarious way possible that should honestly be more vicious.
After we round up all the monsters and shove them all off the cliff, they're all gonna be like, oh no, my bod, oh my poor monster bod.
And then we'll go to the rest of Muni, and then to Earth, and then the universe, or whatever, I don't know. Or maybe she starts to turn on the Magic High Commission because, hey, a bigot isn't gonna betray their own ideas just for one of the good ones, which would necessitate the idea of desperate times call for desperate measures, like how the show is making it out as. But what would the monsters themselves actually think about Star destroying magic? I don't think the show ever really answers that. Do they think it would help? Do they hate it as much as her? Or do they just want peace and don't care so long as more people don't get hurt? And by destroying magic, people would get hurt. I mean, even Toffee was an extremist who wanted magic destroyed, so Star is kind of horseshoeing herself by doing this. And there's a lot more I wish they did with this, which they could have done if they actually traveled the multiverse and not the one town like they were in Season 2. And honestly, it would be better if they traveled the multiverse because the show is ending. It's good to focus on some remaining vestiges before it's gone for good. Some stuff you wanted to focus on before, but you couldn't. In the Book of Spells, we learned that Ludo's family, the Avariuses, were put in charge by Star's ancestors because they believed monsters couldn't care for themselves. And by becoming the monster version of figureheads, they became super wealthy. However, they're still considered monsters, and they aren't even wealthy anymore because they blew all their money, so all they have is the giant castle, which Ludo stole, which Toffee stole from him, and which Star destroyed in Season 1, so they don't even have that anymore. Do they even have any more political standing?
Please accept this bag of corn.
Corn? We don't need corn. We're doing great, thanks.
But perhaps we can find someone else who could use it.
What would Ludo's family think of magic being no more? Would they hate it because that would mean they would lose whatever remaining standing they had? And honestly, this could be a good way to get Ludo and Star to interact again, since honestly, outside of him and Dennis, he was massively underused in Season 4, when the whole point is to get people to like Eclipsa. He and Star could finally have a finale of sorts, and finally make up, since they both want the same thing, and Ludo could further show his redemption. Like, I do think it's kind of funny, like, Star's running, and he's like, oh hey Star, what's up? And she's like, no, bye. But yeah, you know what I mean. Heck, Star spending the season trying to get the monsters support for her plan could have also been a good idea. Like Charlie and the cannibals, Star has to prove herself as a leader by proving herself to a few, because if she can't lead a few, how is she gonna lead them all? And it could help to diffuse the whole white savior idea I was talking about, which I do think got a lot of flack when the show was airing. But who else could Star encounter? Well, what about her butterfly relatives? She did convince her Johansson relatives, considering Rock, but she has other family members. In Game of Flags, we learn that Star has a bunch of butterfly aunt and uncles and cousins. Well, piplings, because that's what you call aunt and uncles. And apparently one of them is Moon's brother, but I suppose that was retconned into him just being like that super older cousin, but he does call her his niece, so who knows.
You've been a stone in my poulains for too long, my incorrigible little niece. You're about to abdicate the throne.
And they're super classist on top of that. Antiferia tells Moon to divorce River for Count Mildrew, aka the suitor from her teenhood, since she thinks that Johansson's, aka River's family, are a bunch of uncultured hooligans.
You know, Lord Mildrew is still single. Never too late to start over, dearie.
Yes, Antiferia. I heard you the first 100 times.
As Star learns the butterflies don't hug, they need to be fed like babies, etc. When Star gave up her wand and her title, she was also giving up her family's role, and that could include the privileges and the money associated with the royal family, servants and the like, and we saw that the humans couldn't even take care of themselves without Moon's assistance, so what are Moon's relatives doing now that Eclipsa is in charge? Is she letting them live the high life? Did she throw them off their property because they said something? Did they know the secret all along and just ignored it because that's the only way they would stay in power? At least Moon knows how to survive in the wild because she actually had to fight the monsters, and she also has River. Or are they like fine in the woods and they actually prefer it considering Game of Flags?
Give me flag! Give it to me!
Maybe they'd actually support Ludo's family for once because they have the same goals, even if they're monsters. But here I go rambling. On the other hand, I also understand the concept of magic being destroyed and this being a tragic but necessary act. As Star learned the hard way, and has been a recurring lesson throughout the show, queens have to do what's best for their people, even if they are ended up hated for it.
But right now, what's best for Muni is that my family leaves.
As queen, it is your duty to do what is best for your people, even if they end up hating you for it.
Eclipsa had to kill her own daughter because she wasn't going to rest until all of Muni was destroyed.
I'm sorry.
What did you do?
What I had to.
Or Star and Tom had to put their feelings on the back burner by dancing to keep the peace between their families. So I can get Star destroying magic as a last resort and not really wanting to do it, but knowing it's the only way I can save my people. But the problem is, because the narrative never really focuses on the consequences of it for long, or why Star's doing it, well, it just feels like she's doing it for the wrong things. And you know what? Let's talk about those things and those consequences. With the show, the main consequence they give is that Marco might be separated from Star forever, because with no magic, that means scissors won't work and he'll be stuck on Earth, while Star will be stuck on Muni, which is bad. They just started dating. Oh no, so Star will not be able to be with Marco ever again, and she will also murder millions, if not twillions of people on top of that. But her boyfriend being gone forever for this long. How terrible. My heart aches.
On Earth. But that's not fair! Plus, that doesn't even make sense.
I'm sorry, I just feel like the one kinda digs precedence over the other. And I hate how Glossaric is like, oh yeah, Star, your tapestry is done, so that means you're gonna do it.
Star?
It's just he belongs with me!
Star!
What?
I think the tapestry is done.
No! No! What a huge betrayal to Star's character. But Kitty, you just said... I know what I just said, Catherine. It's called semantics. Star's whole character is that she doesn't listen to people. She doesn't listen to fate. She does what's not expected of her. She does the opposite. So to destroy magic just because she's told that's what she's going to do, aka what she's expected to do, is very against her character and is a horrible finale. You know, like what she did in Toffee when Glossaric told her to just give up and screw it, and that saved magic because she realized some of it still remained. Like she knew Glossaric was just using reverse psychology because that's how she learns. But here, no. Star could always find another way. There always is another way. But because again, they didn't have any time, they couldn't. Like how Mina says only Solaria can take away their powers. Well, maybe Star could try to channel Solaria's ghost or something.
Did you really think that would work? You may have created the warriors, but we pledged our loyalty to Queen Solaria!
Have her exhaust every possible option until only I need to destroy magic remains. I'm sorry, just the idea of them channeling Solaria, that would be a really good episode. Honestly, the only thing I did like about the finale was the scenes with the Butterfly Queens. Like Eclipsa and her mother saying goodbye and her mother finally accepting her granddaughter.
Well, for what it's worth, I think you made the right choice.
Or Moon seeing her mother for the last time. I think that would be a good episode too. Like perhaps Star tries to channel Solaria's ghost to help stop the warriors, but because Solaria's, you know, a ghost, she can't use magic anymore. But she does get closure with her daughter, and that's all that matters. Plus, how did Def reform Solaria? Did she only accept Meteora because that was her daughter? Was she always around to see her daughter and recredit her mistakes? I'm just saying. At BGW, I don't think destroying magic really helped anybody. For one, all of Muni and Earth are linked together with all of the chaotic afterbirth this implies, and we just end things with Star and Marco being cute with each other. Like, no, I have questions. What is the new status quo? You two being together? That's not your concern. You have more pressing matters. And second, yeah, magic might suck, but I hate to say it, it at least kept order. Mina only lost because of plot armor. She could have been dealt with using magic. Even Eclipsa brought that up. Star was able to fight for her people using magic. With no magic, they're all vulnerable. And yet, we're just gonna ignore that. To me, the biggest way they could have fixed it was do what the Owl House did. Honestly, the Owl House finale is everything Star vs. tried, but better. That finale worked because while they were pressed for time, it was because of Disney, not because of them. They worked with what they had. How did they handle all of these new status quo changes? By having a time skip. We saw Luce's life just went on, but she never forgot about the Scooby Gang because she was still living with the Scooby Gang. Or she still had the portal to the other world, so she could have just done that. And it also had the occasional sequel hook, like Magic coming back, or the Collector going into the stars, or Ida opening up a school, or getting back together with Rain. With Cleaved, it felt like a finale to season 4, not a finale to the show. And one way they could have solved this was to have a time skip, rather than waste it on stuff that doesn't come up again or has little relevance, like Marco getting stabbed by the Warnicorn that Tom was writing. Act 1 or Act 2 could end with Magic getting destroyed. There's a big explosion, and then Star goes outside, and oh my god, Marco's now her neighbor. Time skip, maybe like 5 years, and we see that, yeah, stuff sucked at first, but they all get along now. Maybe life isn't perfect, but it still goes on. Maybe humans and humans are finally able to coexist. Or maybe Star only destroyed one form of magic, but a new form is here, and that's all they can use. I don't know. But yeah, here are my messy thoughts on why Star shouldn't or shouldn't have destroyed magic. Should she have destroyed magic? No, but I do get why the writers wanted her to. The show just did not have enough time to make this concept work or seem like a good idea, and they basically glossed or skipped over most of it. In a perfect world, this could have been a perfect finale, but this aired on the same day Game of Thrones ended, so anyhow, bye!